to cover the concept of stress management under organizational behavior. So I'll add the index in the description, followed by that I'll give the link of the explanation. Okay, let's get started. So yes, what is stress? So it's like when a person confronts or come across a situation which is very important and crucial for the person, but he or she is unaware or uncertain about the outcome. Okay, this kind of situation leads to a stress on a person. Now basic school of thought on stress is that every person will have a different sort of response based on his personality, his past experience and all, but that is only up to a certain threshold. Once the threshold is gone, everyone will react in the same manner. So that is a basic thought behind the stress. Okay, now next is defining workplace stress. So in that we can say, okay, the job, it's demanding some level of expectation, or it is having some expectations from a person, but then compared to that, when we have conflicts between the thing that a job expects and then the amount of control that an employee has over meeting those demands. Okay, so that difference, that conflicts will lead into a workplace stress. Now stress experiences. So when we are under stress, we've come across these three parent categories of responses we try to perform. Okay, so one is a physiological response, in which our eating habits will be completely changed. Some people might start eating a whole lot of things, and some people will stop eating. So that again differences, but yeah, eating habits will get affected. Then health issues. Okay, now second is the emotional responses. So in this, we'll have a sudden mood swings. Okay, suddenly getting angry, short tempered, crying, sad. That again it will be affect on the emotional response, but again differs based on the personality. Next is the cognitive or problem solving response. So when we are under stress, our concentration, our dedication is completely destroyed. So in that stage, we are not sure what we are thinking. So our thinking capability, decision taking process, everything will be affected. So that was a stress experience. Next is our work stress model. So in that, what we say that we have two models. So first is the job demand resource. So here we are considering when the job demand is high, okay, very high, but the job resources is very less. It might be the infrastructure or anything, it is very less. So as the cycle moves ahead, as the job demands are very crucial and though resources are very less, at the later stage when resources are provided, doesn't matter, because the person who was there working on the requirement, which is a highly demanding requirement, is already into the strain. So later on, even if you get the resources, the motivation, anything, okay, that doesn't work out. That will of course try to help to come out of the stress up to certain threshold level, but it is gone. The efficiency, the expectations of the that the job demanded from a person or the job had from the person is gone. But yes, so we can say that in this scenario, the outcome is the burned outcome, not the one that was expected. So this model is what termed as a job demand resource, which is like overall very high demand and very less resource. Next we have demand control model. So it is basically classified into the low job demand versus job control. Then you can see low high thing. Okay, so the definitions that we have is the low strain. So in this, what we say that is there is no fixed schedule. It is completely flexible, not a very demanding task. So since it is not a demanding task and a flexible, so we have good control, and these kind of jobs are there in which includes the routine jobs. High strain in which we okay, if you see high strain, we can see in the job control and job demand, the high strain is at the corner where even the demand is high and the job control is also high. No, job control is low. Okay, so in this you can see the demand is high, but overall control that a person has is very low. So he is not able to control it, and the demand is also high. So the work that he can do, the efficiency which he can do, can be improved if the control on the job is increased. But since the control is not there, the stress will be high. Okay, so that's what high strain means. So the demand is very complex, but the control is very less. Coming to the passive jobs, here we can see the demand is low and the job control is also low. So it's simple jobs with no decision, includes repetitive and production jobs. Next we have active jobs. So these active jobs are very crucial, very important, highly strained, but again on this since it's a very crucial thing, there will be like more time was spent on the decision making process. So because more time is spent on decision making process, there should be a high level control. So because of this flexibility, it is like a very top level jobs, we can say. So for example, YouTube, it's like completely up to you, but we have to make sure the content that we are delivering is of very good quality. So finally, because it is a high strength doesn't mean that it is like we cannot do. It's highly under the control of the person who is performing it, because it involves too much of decision taking rather than performing any physical activities. That's why it is done slowly, but the final output, that the quality is maintained. So that was our demand control model. Next we come to our final thing, that is effort reward imbalance reward. So effort reward imbalance reward, so this says that this assumes, okay, this simply assumes that when the overall effort is very high, okay, but the expected reward compared to that of the given is completely different. It has a sky to land kind of difference. So the rewards is given very low, and the efforts that is taken to complete the job is very high, so which causes again the stress. So these were three different kind of models which could lead to our work stress model, work stress. Okay, next we have stresses, which means what are the reasons for the stresses. So this we are talking in specific to workplace stress. So one is the role conflict and role ambiguity. So we have discussed this in the previous session, where we were talking about groups and teams. So we can say role conflict is when for suppose you are you are a manager and you are representing your team to the management, and you are representing your management to your team. So which side you should take, so what kind of statements you need to say. Okay, so for all these kind of decisions, you will be getting into the role conflict. So but here the thing is, you are sure, you are clear about the role that is given to you, but coming to role ambiguity, you are not even sure what kind of role is there, because you have a different perception of the role, and the requirement, the demand of the job of the role that is given to you is completely different. So there is full confusion. Okay, now next is role overload. So here we can see we have a good example in like in Amazon warehouse. If, because of a huge work, even the employees are not allowed to drink water, so that they could avoid going to the washrooms, and they could avoid what we can say, the small tea breaks kind of things. Okay, so and that happens when there is a too much overload on the role given to a person. So that would again lead to the stressing. Okay, next is the layoffs. So that is self-explanatory. Then resource inadequacy. Again, here we can say that it follows our this model. Which one? The job demand resource. So the amount of work that has to be done is very much, but the resource that is given is like not at all matching to what is expected. Okay, so it's the resources is very less. Next, the working condition. So it's again how good the conditions is, that act as a very crucial factor in motivating or having the employee to work for long hours, or it might be not only the infrastructure wise, it might be the role, the kind of work that is given as compared to what it is expected by that person. So if it is a very brutal things, like brutal conditions where you are not able to work properly, or some that sort of thing, which could again lead to the stress for a person. Next is the organization culture and management style. So just a parent level example I can take is whether it is a task oriented or whether it is a employee oriented. So that is a deciding factor of how much stress a person is going to face if he joins that kind of organization. Okay, then we have organizational monitoring. So if it is like, okay, you consider the performance review, that is fine, because that happens in yearly wise. But if you continuously monitor a person, he'll be under 24/7 watch, then he cannot perform what he is expected to do, and he'll be like, someone is watching over me. So the efficiency will definitely be affected, because there's no such flexibility given to a person. Next is the job insecurity. So if the demand of this, like if the resource is very commonly available for any skill which is very common and doesn't require much amount of training, so the more we can say, the rare is the skill, the flexible the person can be, but more common is the job, the more insecure person will be, because he can be easily replaceable. So yeah, this might be one of the factor everyone is asked to continuously increase his skill set. So yeah, job security is one more stressors. Now sources of stress. Okay, so again here we have three sources of stress: environmental factor, organization, and personal factor. So for environmental factors, we can say the environment in which the organization running. So for this, uncertainties might come from the political level, or the technology level, or the economic environment. So for suppose the market is not going good in any specific country for the niche in which the organization works, so that will be leading to an environmental factor. So those kind of things again creates a stress for the complete organization, not for an individual. Next we have organizational factor. So here factors are completely related to the work that is going on in the organization. It might be the work pressure, overload, or the management that the behavior of the management towards the employees, and the infrastructure that is provided, and the rules and regulations, the policies, everything that is maintained inside the organization. All those factors will affect again what kind of stress the person is going to face. Next we have the final thing is a personal factor. So personal factor in terms okay, so whatever we are studying is related to the workplace area. So here personal factors is like how the employee is able to balance between the work life and the personal life. So if he is able to balance both of them, then he will be good, otherwise he will be coming across the personal stress. Next we have individual differences among sources of stress. So in this we can see the stress is not stress for someone and the same thing is stress for other. So what are those things that affects in this difference that we are going to study? So individual differences among source of stress. So there will be a specific scenario for every person, but for some people it might be stress, and for some people it might not be stress, but it might be a regular routine behavior for some of them. So let's go through those points one by one. First is the perception. So for one person he might be assuming a whole lot of things against a task that is given to him. So for which like if that is something new and he has been given certain time limit to learn and do, that is fine. But if that person is afraid of learning, the same thing could be a stress for the person. Then again we come across a new person who is like literally having the intention to learn and do something, then the same thing will be like an opportunity for the person. So again it depends on what kind of perception a person is having, which will lead to a stress for someone and not stress for some other person. Then we have job experience. So it is a basic principle which is a well-known thing that more the experience, more the comfortable a person is. Okay, so here we can say the more the person is spent his time with the organization, the less the stress he is facing up with the way that organization is giving the work or demanding something from a specific role. Now next thing is a social support. So here we are talking about transparency. Okay, if the organization is friendly and it is like maintaining everything in a professional way, there is no what you can say, any rewards or any incentives or any favorable things done in a political manner, so then every person will be stress free and they can focus on their work. Otherwise they might be focused on the things which are not expected, like they'll be focusing on buttering and all the other things. So social support in terms of organization is to maintain the transparency. Next is the personality traits. So in coming to personality, it again depends, like if a person is very impatient, aggressive, short tempered, they are more probable to come across stresses. But again the same things when given to people whose personality is like they are patient, calm, they try to analyze the situation. So if that kind of personality is there with the person, that then he might be less probably be coming across his stress. Okay, now next is the self-esteem. So again this will be the part of personality. So here we can say the people who are more focused on having their self-esteem up to certain level, or they want to continuously increase that, so overall who are more concerned towards self-esteem will face stress more often than compared to the people who are not at all much worried. They are concerned about self-esteem, but it's not like they are only focused on self-esteem. So it again depends on how much you are concerned about anything, and then you will come across stress. Okay, more the priority you give to anything, more the stress you will get. Next we have levels of stress. So we have 3 levels of stress, and then we have 4 outcomes of stress. So as we have studied previously the personality traits, so coming to the individual stress, it depends on the personality the person is having. So we can consider here, as we have taken an example, some new task is given for which a new technology has to be learned. So if the person is not willing to learn, he might be consider it as a stress, but the person who is willing to learn and do it, it will be an opportunity for him. So that's what it's saying. It might look threat for some person and might be an opportunity for someone else. So that is individual stress. Next we have group stress. So in this we are talking about individuals. So when forming a group and performing any completing any project, there will be a group discussions and group activities. So again, overall if we see, there will be a complete bonding between the members. Okay, but if for any person, if there is a lack of group cohesiveness or group support, then he might come across a stress which is known as group stress. Okay, now for the final level of stress we have organizational stress. So you can see first at the individual level, then group level, then organizational level. So here we can see the organization structure is not like in previous we have seen that we have different models of meetings. Similarly we have different models of organization. What it might be the one flow or the V inverted flow. So we have different models, right? So if the organization structure is not up as transparent or as what we can say, the more flexible, or if it is restricting us from communicating from the people we want, so if that kind of things are there, then the organized structure is poor, and the job design specification, then nepotism we can say it as a like one person is handling, so there is no decentralization, so complete control is there in the one person. So if these kind of things are there, then that will be an organizational stress. Now the outcomes of stress, as we have studied previously, physiological, which will affect our food. Okay, physiological is at the third point, which will affect our food and health. Okay, in the first point we have psychological. So where bipolar disorder means either you will be talking in a very high level, like you will be talking continuously 24/7, or you will be completely silent. So that is bipolar disorder. Then anxiety, depression, a cognitive problem, that is your decision taking capacity will be affected, personality change. So all this will come under the psychological thing. Next, behavior is like mood swings, you will be ill tempered. Okay, you're biting your nails, grinding teeth, so you are smoking continuously. All these things are the behavioral changes. So physiological things we just discussed, it's like health issues, food issues, which could lead to blood pressures, heart attacks, and all those sort of health issues. Next we have organizational. So the outcome of organizational stress is like the efficiency is affected. Okay, and even if we are not pressurized, but we are under stress. Okay, because of some previous projects or previous tasks or previous some incident got happened. Okay, so that will affect the morale of the person, which will affect the performance, his communication, his relationship. So all this will be the organization level of stress. So all these were the different types and outcomes of stress. Let's see about the stress management. So overall we have three levels of stress management. First is the primary level, which deals at the organization level. Okay, next is the secondary level, which deals at the job level, we can say. Now finally is the tertiary level, which we can say it is for our career. So this I categorized based on focusing on any organization, right? Let's go into specific. So primary level stress management, it is a goal is to prevent workplace stress. So here we can see we have organizational change at micro level. Okay, so this was the categorization I was talking about. So management level changes means the way task distribution is done, the way employees are made to get involved in any decision taking process, so as to bring the ownership among the people who are involved in the project. So all these things will come under the organizational change. So we have a number of other things, like we can avoid some points that we have previously discussed, which are role ambiguity, role conflict, okay, rotation of jobs, job insecurity, red tape. So all these things will come under the changes that management can do. So that is organizational changes. Then micro level environment changes. So here we can see everything is related to job. So again here will become the task rotation that is happening, the stress management programs and the work arrangements, what are the kind of communication is done to you about the requirements so that you can perform your job in a correct manner, or how the other teams is responding for the queries that you are doing. So these are the some of the strategies that will be done at the job level. Next, at the employee level, so as we have seen previously, we were talking about the work life balance. So here the employee level strategies means the kind of trainings and the kind of technologies they are made familiar to with, the kind of co-curricular activities they are involved in, so as to avoid stress not only at some point but continuously. So these are the changes which is done to avoid workplace stress. Next we have secondary level stress management. So here we can see that we try to prevent at the first level, the primary level, but coming to secondary level, here we are not trying to prevent, but we are making all the people to see, okay, this kind of stress that you might come across, so recognize it previously itself and try to bring the change in your behavior, or try to bring the change in the environment by taking it to someone else, or sit and discuss and try to avoid getting, because you know if the situation goes continuously, you are going to come across the stress. So you need to resolve either by changing something in yourself or by changing something outside of you, that is in the environment, in the organization or something, but you have to take steps here. Next is the tertiary level. So here in the first step we were trying to prevent, in the second step we were trying to see, okay, we cannot prevent it and the situation is coming across my face, so what level of stress I can handle, how can I resolve it, like if there is a possibility, how much can I resolve it. But tertiary level is like you are in the stress, okay, so here we are focusing on the curing. So it is again based on the symptoms, like it is your food habit that is getting affected, it is your behavioral that is getting affected, or the physiological, or what kind of symptoms you are getting in the stress. Now focus in the tertiary level is to cure the stress. Okay, so that was about stress management, and this was the last topic. So in case of any queries for stress management, you can write down in the comment section. So that's it for now.